And 3, 2, 1. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Mixed Nomad Podcast, episode 15. We got another good episode here for you. Make sure that you like, subscribe, do all the things.
Do the thing.
Yeah, do all the things. Just
you know what to do. Just start clicking the things to do the thing.
Right. Let it comment. Let us know what's going on and how you're feeling about the content we're giving out to you. Once again, I'm Sean Lowry, Rick Yee. We're both here, and we're back again with doing our normal gig for you each week, right? So this week we're actually going to be going over, as usual, we're always talking about different problems and trying to find solutions, right? And right now what we're finding is the biggest thing, and this pertains to politics, and it also seems to pertain to what's going on in the world and dealing with all this racial stuff here at the same time. So really it's about being stuck in your own social media bubble, right? And for anybody who doesn't know, like if you don't really understand how, okay, let me rewind a little bit. The perception right now is that the tech companies are kind of controlling the narrative of how we feel and how we think, and they're blinding content from you, and they're like some great overlords. Well, that's not entirely true. So, it's really not true at all, because what's actually happening is when you go onto social media, you got to remember that these are computers that are actually thinking about how to get you to engage more. So the system gives you an idea, it tosses out a bunch of things. You go on, let's say YouTube, right? And it tosses out an idea to you, and it says, all right, well, how much time did you actually spend on said idea, right? And if you spent 3 seconds on whatever that was, and then you shut it off, and then you never went back to it, well, then it says, well, you clearly didn't like that. But then if it sends you another video, and you actually spend 5 minutes watching that, and then watch the 2 trailing videos after that, it says, ooh, this is what you like. And then it's going to then send you a notification and say, hey, look, we found something else that you might like. Well, what's actually happening is that we're creating our own bubbles, our own situations. We're locking our own doors. And by doing this, it's creating a huge atmosphere of misinformation, right? And how this is all working is, it's not that the companies are trying to hide things from you, it's you're building your own castle. And now how this pertains to what we talk about here on the Mixed Nomad Podcast is pretty much, well, if, for example, I have 3 different YouTube accounts, let's say. And each one of these one of my accounts are far left, one is far right, one is very central. So on my one that's far left, right, I get nothing but videos on police abuse and the tyranny of power and things of that nature. If I go on my far right account, I get nothing but videos on how rioters are just, all the protesters are just rioters, and they're looters, and they're doing terrible things, and they hate America. While in my center one, I get a little bit of all of it. But the point is that what's happening, what we have to understand is everything isn't quite as bad as we think it is. What's really going on is when you're caught in your own bubble and of things that appealed to you to begin with, and then you have anybody else that thinks in that same light and then puts their own spin to it, and then you just get caught in this whirlwind of one idea. And now we can see why the tensions are so high right now. The tensions are so high with race because everybody, especially being quarantined and being stuck at home, you're being confined into this one little space, and you just have a sounding board that's just coming right back at you with everything. And what we need to start understanding is that this is doing no good for anyone. And it's also changing the perception of the country. It's changing how we view each other, how we look at each other. And if my only interactions with the internet every single day was the police are terrible, there's just abuse going on, my people have been repressed, how do you expect a human being to react to that? How would you respond to that? Well, I'll tell you what, look at your own sounding board. Look at what's going on in your own little world of what you're seeing online. And it's not that the tech companies are doing this to you. Like I said, it's very important that we really understand that we are doing it to ourselves. They created something to try to give us what we wanted, and it's doing exactly that. And rather than fact checking and looking at both sides and trying to find some kind of median, we're just running with it. And it's like a snowball. It starts out one layer of bad, becomes 2 layers of bad, becomes 3 layers of bad, until you can't even see anymore. And what sparked this was actually Rick came up to me this morning and brought this to my attention, that he had seen this thing, and this is something that I've been trying to stress for a while, and it really showed me that somebody else, if they hear this, so it prompted this particular podcast, right? Because all of a sudden, if he can see it, then I think that it's important that we all know that it's there, and we do have some solutions for all this, but that's just kind of an intro of what this is all going to be about. And I'll let Rick go ahead and explain his portion where he found it this morning.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good job, dude. Nice start. The thing is with the Matrix is that the Matrix was designed for you, and the thing is it's designed by you. And that's where you watch that show with the Matrix, where you see people don't ever question the narrative of what's going on around them because their belief systems are created about what they know. And so I'm really glad that we really had the last episode talking about filters and the filters that we use, whether it's a race filter, sexist filter, a bias filter in general. It starts changing and creating our own planet because we're only seeing it through the filters that we've developed. Now, the filters that I'm talking about are our belief systems. And this is something that I get really deep into with the Everything is a Choice program, is how our belief systems shape our opinions of everything and all perceptions, which creates our own reality. Now, you made a great point with being isolated right now in quarantine. There is no access to the thing that used to balance this out. Before, if somebody had a crazy idea or a radicalized idea or something that was really far in any direction, well, you were around enough people that would give their own wisdom or insight to go, oh, dude, what are you doing? That jump is far. Slow down. That's not how that is. But when you don't have access to anybody to slow down that belief system and give you perspective and any other wisdom at all, and all you're doing is going one step further, and it starts slow. And I think that's the thing for all people, is the belief system is created over time. It's not like I went from one video and then now I'm a staunch, crazy version of whatever that started off with. It's a subtle thing. And somebody has an opinion that you kind of agree with, but maybe not as much. And then another person jumps on. And the things that you start seeing are people's belief systems and realities and their truths. And they really honestly believe they're doing good because
it's their
when they're
passions.
in their own bubble, their perception of what that is will bring out a calling.
Right.
And when you have a calling, then it's now, I have to make this video because I am called to do it. I love all of you. I believe that we have to take our country back. If people are doing these things, all I've seen today is 500 videos of cops killing people over the last 50 years. And it's time for us to tear the system to pieces. And you go, normally that would be somebody who we would call crazy, until somebody else lives in that bubble too, and they go, I also am called to the same cause. And then another person says, I'm called to the same cause. And then another person says, get your guns, get your knives, get your weapons, throw some fire at people. And they're like, you know what? This is the only answer. It's the only way I can see it. And you know what? I am not going to sit by and watch the world fall apart. I'm going to fight because it's the only thing I can do. Where that would have been stopped a long time ago with your parents going like, what the fuck?
Right. It's
And your friends going, wait, what?
right. And that's the whole thing. It's all crazy. And once again, just to veer off into politics just a little bit, like I'll give you a perfect example of what I'm talking about here is like, so take the debates that just took place the other day, right? And what I did right after the day after the debates, I did all 3 of my accounts, right? And on the far left account, it was nothing about, and once again, I want to go over this, like, I'm not getting into anybody's presidential belief system. I'm not saying anybody's awesome. I'm not saying anybody's not awesome. I'm just giving you the information that I saw. That's it. So on the left side, it was nothing but what Trump was a bully. He was terrible. He was incoherent and just ridiculous. And all he did was just blast information, and he didn't have any substance. But then I went on my far right one, and it was nothing but how Joe Biden was just stuttering in the whole 9 years. But now, and those things are what you can get even from a centrist point of view, right? And that's what you can get on both sides. Like, so if you went on to Fox News, you got a bunch of that. And if you went on to The Daily Show, you got a bunch of the other, right? So, and that's pretty much okay. But now if you stretch that just a little bit further, let's take it just one more step over, and you go over onto the right. And now all of a sudden, Joe Biden is wearing an earpiece. He has a microphone in his sleeve. He has, now it's a conspiracy that's going on at the same time. And while the right side or the left side is busy saying, no, these are prayer beads, these are this, blah, blah, blah. Just the point is, it just becomes one more stage. And now if that's all you're hearing on your side.
Well, then you add one more piece to it. They're like, he's doing this because they're lying to you, because they're trying to manipulate you into this and this.
Right.
And as soon as it starts going into that direction, now it's like, this is the devil.
Right.
And
now this is the devil's work.
We have to actively fight the devil.
Right.
You know, and either both sides start doing that, where like they start demonizing whatever the person is. Even like it starts going really, really far to where it eventually gets to, we need to go and do something.
Right. Like absolutely.
It's just 2 old guys arguing. Hold on a second. We don't got to go do anything.
Right. And I mean, you hear all these things, and like basically all of these commentaries that I'm seeing, and it's just once again, it's just a sounding board for your own particular points of view. Now, these things are created actually by accident. You know what I mean? This was not something that was done intentionally. This was a group of really smart people trying to figure out how to make people absorb content, right? That at the end of the day, that's what this was. This was people trying to figure out, how do we get people to be immersed in what we're selling, and not what we're selling, but in our product, and the product being YouTube. So YouTube has, and I know it's odd that I'm actually on YouTube, but it has become one of the greatest and worst things that humanity has ever had. And that's because it gives you something that you absolutely want and has done a great service, but at the same time, it's allowed just for us to be trapped in a world that really doesn't exist. And to bring this all back, at the end of the day, what we have to really start applying the same old rules that we used to apply to our history books back in the 80s and 90s and shit, is that really you have to kind of read everything, kind of see everything, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. And I'm not saying that there's nothing bad going on the left. I'm not saying there's nothing bad going on the right. I'm not saying BLM is a great organization. I'm not saying that everybody who's running around with a Donald Trump flag and saying they love America hates black people. I'm not saying any of those things. But there are some bad on all of these things. There's some bad people in BLM. There's some bad people over on the Trump side. There's some bad people in everything. But what we have to always try to remember is that that's not who humanity is on a whole. And I think that as soon as we stop living in these little bubbles, and we actually, that's why I've been going back and forth and saying, like, or not back and forth, but just consistently saying, like, it is so important to step outside of ourselves and talk to people who we normally wouldn't, or people who don't align with our particular political points of view. Like, these things are the things that are going to help mend what's going on, help bring us all back together instead of keep dividing us. And as long as we're sitting here in these little bubbles and we're not interacting with each other, we have no chance of not avoiding all the bad stuff that is clearly headed in a certain direction right now.
Yeah, there's no way other than civil war with this without awareness of what that is that's happening. And it's interesting to see the belief systems that change, because you're right, there's good people on both sides. And before anybody ever got radicalized, like, it was good intentions. They're all, people were always like, this seems like the right thing to do. It seems like the right thing to do. And that's the thing with these filters and these bubbles that people are living in, is that something that you yourself would have said is fucking crazy becomes plausible. And when you're surrounded by it enough, even the people on your own side who are like, yeah, this is just really wrong, we do need to make equality. You're like, right, yeah, I agree with the equality. They're like, that's why we got to kill cops. And you're like, wait, I don't know about that. We need no cops. We need to get rid of all the cops. And you're
Right.
like, I don't know about that part. Hold on a second. It's like, no, it's the only way. And then you start seeing more and more people go, okay, well, maybe that is. And then, like, you know what? Maybe I do believe in that. And then something you yourself would have said is fucking bananas becomes your narrative because you're surrounded by it.
Right.
And that's the whole thing with all of these things, is our belief systems is the filter that we use. Everybody watched the same debate. Everybody watched the same one. It's the same. We saw the same thing, but ran it through different filters.
Absolutely.
You know, so some people will go like, I'm already biased in my filter, which means if this guy does this, I'm going to find whatever I fucking hate about this guy.
Right.
That's what everybody did with their own filters.
Yep. Absolutely.
Which is the point, is that these filters that we're using, what is the purpose of our filter that we're using on their things? And if you look at the result of your filter and you only find that there's more separation,
Yep.
we are dividing. The people you're mad at are on your team.
Right. In a lot of cases, and when that's being said, it's really, you really have to say that it's the majority of people. The majority of people, we all want the same thing, but we're just being told every single day that it's us against them, and
people unfriending each other and all kinds of stuff,
all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, and it's gone so far that there's like, there's a couple of things here. So if you really want to understand how this is working and how the technical end of how it's working, I mentioned this before on the podcast, and I would like to reiterate one more time. It's The Social Dilemma, and it's a documentary on YouTube by a bunch of top creators for social media.
On Netflix too.
What did I say it was on?
You said YouTube.
Oh my, yeah, no, my
Netflix.
bad. It's on Netflix. Yeah, my mistake. Yeah, so it's on Netflix. But the important thing is it's just to understand, and then, like, even I know what a bunch of people are gonna say is, oh no, this is just a game. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't true or whatever. Like, then everybody, what you absolutely need to do is whatever soapbox you're living in, because I have universally found everybody is living in their own little bubble. Everybody is right now. Like, whatever that one is. So let's say you are hyper BLM, right? And that's really what you believe. That's your structure. Well, make another Google account and a whole new account on YouTube, and start with things like, I don't know, like Adam Calhoun and Fox News and Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens, and you make that your, like, everything you're searching for all the time. And then day for day, Like it'll take a month or so before it actually will like kick in and really start feeding you properly. But then look at the narrative. Look what's coming up on both sides. And this is what and I did it, and I actually did it before I knew anything about that documentary. I did it because because of my personal viewpoints. So I wanted to see different things. You know what I mean? But I just I didn't myself realize the ramifications of how it all worked until I actually watched it play out. And on my one account, like I said, I see every single day, all the way go back to like since the invention of video, of all the horrible things that have been done to black people. Like just it just rolls in like it's crazy. Then I look at the other side and I just hear how it's completely the opposite. And when you're sitting in these silos, there's just no way to come out with a sensible, like adjusted way of looking at people.
It is impossible. That's why even like, because I found my feed started leaning to the right because I do have more conservative views on most things, but
Right.
I also have liberal views on other things. Like I'm not all right-sided. So like I do go on both ways, but then when I start going like, hey, I do want to see more of the liberal view. I do want to see some more of like the left side to it. Let me check it out. But because of the way that my algorithm was going, only things that it would bring up from a left point of view were extremes. It
Right.
didn't show me any like, here's a middle of the road conversation that does lean towards this direction. It's only like, we need to burn the world down, and like people who are social justice warriors going like, ah, like you're like, this can't be the only thing. And so I had to
Right.
reach out to even you or other friends and go, apparently I can't even search appropriately anymore. Can
Right.
you send me things that I can't even find?
Right. And that's the thing. It's just you lose the ability to actually see the things that make a difference. You know what I mean? That would sway you away or even give you something that would give you an alternative viewpoint on anything. Like and I really think that this comes down to like this goes back to like I said with the filters and how we perceive things. And then what we really have to realize here is that there's no tech company that is busy trying to. I mean, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get you to view. They're trying to get you to do what their job is to do. You know, your job is
Make money
to
for advertising.
right,
Yeah,
right. That's
their
their
job.
yeah. That is their job. But the problem is that along the way, we have done this to ourselves. We have done this to ourselves and created this problem. And like if you watch that Social Dilemma documentary, you have a bunch of guys on there that's like, yeah, I was one of the creators of this, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it. Like, no, none of us meant to do it. This was a mistake. But at the same time, so like, and now let's look at what happens. And when if they try to, like when Rick's first response to me was actually like, well, they have to, like, what is it? It's either like it's what's right or what makes you more money. But at this point, it's gone past that, because if they jump into a situation and they say, hey, look, this is misinformation. As soon as they do that, as soon as they jump in now, then they're being accused of changing the narrative and trying to manipulate you. But that's because of what we've created. How can we expect for any groups in this country, whether it be racially, whether it be politically, I mean, like even 10 years ago, if you had if you knew somebody that had a different political view than you, I mean, there were some heated arguments here and there but it was all just moot, right? It was like, oh yeah, they're a whatever and they're a whatever, but it wasn't a huge deal. Well, that's not the case anymore. Now it's if you agree to this one side, like we can't even mix anymore. And at what point is it that snaps? At what point is it that becomes a breaking point that we just can't get past?
Yeah. Where is the awareness of the things that do draw our attentions also?
Right.
Because that's the thing that you'll find is that if somebody says, I want to share the truth with you, and it's not going to be very exciting, I'm just going to share you, this is what's really going on. and they're just going to tell you that. Or you can watch somebody bash someone's face in. Well, let's see what this knockout looks like. Like,
Right.
we're going to start going towards things that draw more attention. And what are the things that are getting our attention? And you do see the hate, and you do see anger, and you do see rage, and you do see people losing their minds and screaming, and you do see people attacking each other. And these are the things that are going to get your attention far more than somebody saying, this is what's really going on.
Right.
You're going to gravitate toward that, which then leads to your algorithm being filled with hatred. The more that you're inundated, and this is when we started this, and I was so thankful when we even decided we need to speak more solution oriented.
Right.
Because even me doing research was affecting me. And
Yeah.
I'm not even involved. I'm not on a protest side. I'm not on some rights activist side. I'm not doing anything. I'm in the middle of going like, okay, well, what's best for us? I don't know. I need to learn more.
Right.
In which case, when I start seeing how far things go, when you start tapping, how far is it? And it's rage and anger and destruction and chaos. And you start going, this is affecting me. I'm affected just seeing it. And I'm not even engulfed in the world of it like
Right.
some people are.
Right. Yeah.
In which case there is no light to see.
Yeah. I mean, really, could you imagine? I mean, and I can imagine, but because I've seen it. But I mean, if all you see is just how the other side is taking advantage of you, or taking advantage of the system or doing something bad, but we've been watching all of this happen. I mean, like, we've developed a particular society right now where we think that it's okay to blame the least fortunate among us, to blame the poorest among us, to blame the most uneducated, to blame people that are the least responsible for anything. We're blaming them for everything, for why our lives aren't right. I mean, how can we ever have any kind of like resolution or any kind of like equality as long as this is all we're doing? You know, and I've noticed like this podcast is different today because this is the first time that you and I have really been on the same side. You know what I mean? Like we're really, there's really like this morning when Rick spoke to me, it was the first time that him and I, because once again, we've always been heading to the same place, but had very different views on how to get there. But today, and I just want to stress this and really knock this one home, that like, if once you see this piece, once you truly understand this piece, it's really going to, like, it's like you woke up. It's like somebody just went, holy shit, what have I been doing? Where have I been all of this time? And then you start seeing, like, you start finding the cracks in all of the, because when you can listen to the other side and truly listen to the other side, you start realizing that all that fringe speak that's on either side is just crazy noise. It really has no basis in reality. There really is, like, there's so many far left pieces that are just insane. And then there's so many right things that are just insane. But this is not who we are. Like, everybody thinks that right now, like, I mean, right now there's a lot of speak about like how like black people are all just enraged and they're just crazy, but you can't go outside and not see a mixed couple, a mixed group of friends. You can't not see that. So that goes against all of those narratives. You can't see the tech people that are creating these things. They're not villains either. It was an unintentional consequence of what they created. And who can blame them? I mean, they did exactly what we asked them for. And when that happened, we did this to ourselves and we created this problem. And now as a society, like, we have to figure out how to get past it. I think that, and if you look at the birth of this, because if you had talked to me in like the early 2000s, right, I would have said, like, race relations of all things are getting way, way better. Like it's better than it really, like it was really good. Like, I mean, not that it was perfect, not that everything was just like butterflies and gummy bears by any means, but it was noticeably better. Like noticeably better just from when I was a youngster. You know what I mean? It had really greatly improved. I mean, look at our particular group of friends. I mean, there was like the black guy, the mixed guy, the half Asian guy, I mean, like just like there was just all these different guys all in this big group, and everybody was just that was just, and that was normal, like way, way, way normal. And that I can understand that's where a lot of your point of view came from, right, Rick? Is that you grew up in an environment that this was your reality. So you're like, you just don't see it. And I think that a lot of people aren't seeing that. They're not, it's like everybody forgot. And if you look at where it changed was like the birth of these sounding boards, these personal bubbles. And it just created, and it just amplified, and it grew and it grew. And now it's at a point, it's like a pimple that's at the point of popping now. You know what I mean? And that's, once you understand how all this works, once you really get a firm grip on it, then we can adjust our thinking to actually fixing problems, actually going through and starting to interact with each other and work through real issues. But as long as we're stuck in this, like there is no solution there is no solution until we can realize that what's going on. And I can't stress enough that like it really is like waking up. You know what I mean? Like it's like it changes your whole mindset. Mm-hmm. Everything.
Well, you're plugged into the matrix, and the matrix is designed to keep you blind. It is designed to, and that's what you've created. You've created your own world. And when you created it, there's no way for you to say like, this isn't real. I know that it's real. I see it all the time. Once you're able to go, holy crap, this isn't what it all is. There's so much more to it. Everybody else isn't crazy. I created my own crazy. In which case you do have to say, who's responsible for this world? And the answer is very simple. They're in the mirror right now.
Yep. Every day.
That's the person who's made the world that you created, because you're using your filter, whether you're left or right, or you're Biden or you're Trump or whatever it is, you're going to apply your filter to what you see to make it fit your narrative of your belief system. When you do this, you will never be able to see anything else, because it's been convinced to your belief system that anybody trying to change your beliefs, no different than a religion or anything like this, if somebody challenges your beliefs, it's because they're a liar, they're manipulative, they have an intent to try to do harm, and it is my obligation to commit justice.
Right.
Justice, and justice is a perspective of what you believe right and wrong is.
Right.
And I do have an answer for right and wrong, because if you're going to blame others for it and then do actions against others to try to stop what you believe is injustice,
right,
look at the tools that you're using to do so. When you start using any of the formula we talked about in the other videos, as soon as you use blame, shame, hatred, anger, you start using violence, as soon as you start using any of these tools, you are going against what you believe is right yourself. The way you can know whether you're right or you're wrong in what you're doing is, are you okay if they do it to you back?
Of course, yeah. Do unto others, right? It's the old adage, right?
You have no idea. That's why it's the last chapter in my book. And you have no idea. If you just really just apply the golden rule filter to what you're watching, you go, they would really hate somebody doing what they're doing to them.
Right.
You would hate your things stolen, so don't steal. You would hate somebody like throwing things at you or beating you with a stick. You would hate that, so don't do that. Like, if you just apply, I don't want this done to me, to what you're doing, you'll realize your filter adds hatred and anger and stuff that you don't want done to you to the situation. Your filter is adding the things you don't like.
Right.
And that's when you look in the mirror and go, it is me. It is not everyone else. My bubble that I created, my own matrix, my own filters, my own belief system is what I made based on what I keep feeding myself.
Right.
And the only answer is I have to unplug
Mm-hmm.
and then like go outside and take a second and go, it's not the beliefs that I made.
Right.
It's not what I've been fed. It's not the things I keep feeding myself.
Right.
It
Right.
really is different. And then go back to being able to just talk to each other like regular and realize your enemy was your ally the whole time. You're on the same damn team. You just don't like the way they tied their shoes.
Right. Right. I mean, we like, a few years back, like, the 10 years or so, I used to hang out in a bar a lot, and like it was a super mixed group of people, and those people can't even associate with each other anymore. Like, I mean, it is not to say that like all of this is just like crazy people. I got to also be very clear on saying that like there is some racist shit out there. There really is. There's some racist shit and some racist people doing racist things. Undoubtedly. No question. And then there's some people that are just out trying to destroy our entire system because they're just filled with, because they lack morals and lack judgment and lack intelligence. I mean, these things are real, but it's as soon as you start really going down that middle road, as soon as we as a society really start going down that middle road and really realizing, you just start punching holes in all of that stuff. Like, as soon as you're watching both sides, you're like, nah, that's crazy. No, stop that. Don't do that. That's ridiculous. And you kind of go back and forth and just, and I don't believe that this would change anybody's political views. I don't believe like it won't change like whether or not you're a conservative or whether or not you're a liberal, or it's not going to change your fundamentals, but it's just enough to put us at odds to make us think that everybody that doesn't believe what we believe is an enemy.
Yeah, it changes the way you handle what you see. And
Right.
seeking understanding makes a difference too.
Right. Right.
That's for sure. That's where I think I see the most where people go like, I don't care to hear what you have to say.
Right.
Like you're erasing the part where you'll ever be able to understand each other, that you're on the same team. You're both going to the same place. We're both going to the same place. And just because I don't like what color shirt you wore on the journey doesn't mean you're a piece of shit and I should kill you.
Right.
Like,
Right.
no, we're on the same damn team going to the same place.
Right.
Stop adding in the filter of saying you're wrong and we're separate. We're different. We're not the same. We're not going to the same place. We don't have the same goal. At
Right.
the end of this, we all want a better place that we live. We want safety. We
Right.
want security. We want to be able to have a congregation of all of us where we're all just good. Nobody's mad.
Right.
But if we
Right.
keep putting the filter of division on all of it, that we're just gonna we're just gonna create war
Right.
that
Right.
we made up. We made up a war
Right. Right. Yep.
with
And
our allies.
right. And I really do. I challenge everybody to, like I said, don't even take my word for it. Really go out there and make a separate account and make it and watch it every single day about something that is about the opposite points of view that you're currently watching. And it's going to change everything. And I'm talking about on both sides. I'm talking about everybody. So not if you're like, even though I'm more left leaning, I'm not going to, don't sit here and say like, oh, everybody create a left account. And that's where, no, because like the right will point out a lot of holes in the left, but the left will also point out a lot of holes in the right. And just like, this is one of the first solutions that we can do, and something you can do independently without anybody else's help to make a difference in your personal perception. And and as far as I'm concerned, anybody who's not willing to do that, really, they it's a lot of talk about that they want things to be better. Like, and I think that even just watching that documentary on Netflix will change your entire perspective. If you can think through logically on anything, it will change your perspective on how we're consuming things as people. And I mean, social media is a beautiful thing. I mean, I like, it really is, being able to connect with people, being able to really be involved. But at the same time, it allows the people on the fringes to have a voice to really take over the narrative amongst everybody else. So I think that with just doing that, I think that everybody can walk outside after seeing that, and then after trying that for a month, and just feel a little bit better. Change everything on how you perceive what's going on around you. It'll be the opening that will allow you to talk to somebody who is outside of your own wheelhouse.
Without judging them first, because right now, if somebody challenges your beliefs, you immediately get defensive. And once you get defensive, you can't communicate anymore. It's already done. Like, the conversation has died because you're on your heels now. But if you're able to say, there's one person that needs to challenge my belief system, well, it's you. You need to challenge your own belief system, because it doesn't hold water when you really test it out yourself. And being able to take the other perspective to look at your own belief system in a different way and say, does it really hold up when challenged? And it's important to challenge. We need to challenge each other's belief systems, because if I'm saying this is the correct boat to get us to our destination,
Right.
and you're saying, no, mine is the right boat. You need to be in this boat. This is the one that'll get us there.
Right.
And we go, well, let's put it in water and let's see. You're like, I don't want to put it in the water. Let's just all get in the boat and then just trust it. Let's put it in the water and let's see, because I see 3 holes at the bottom of this thing right now.
Right.
You know what? Fuck you, and fuck your boat. Like, no.
Right.
Let's put it in the water and let's see if it sinks. And as soon as it starts going, you go like, all right, I'm glad we didn't get in that. That would have been bad.
That was a shit show. Right.
Thank you for challenging my boat, because I was going to kill us all.
Right.
You're like, right? Now I'm getting my boat because my boat's great. And you're like, I see 4 holes on your boat. And you're like, nope, best boat ever. And then you get in that boat and then you watch it. And you're like, maybe we can figure, because the spots that my holes were was not where yours are, and yours were not where mine are. Maybe we should learn from each other's boats here and make a better super boat.
Right. And that's really, at the end of the day, like, and I really want to say, like, this was like this morning, it was such a, like, it was important for us to do this particular episode, because it was such a, him and I, we really keep it very, very controlled as much as possible on the podcast, but him and I off of camera, we really can kind of get at it once in a while, because our beliefs but like, this is something that somebody that is left and somebody that is right, and both wholeheartedly believe in. And as I said, as we were talking in a previous one, is that find that common ground. Once you find that common ground, you now have a piece of the puzzle set in place, so you can work towards something better. So you can work towards something that actually will make a difference, will make a change. And that's, like, at the end of the day, that's why we're here. That's why I bought all this nonsense to do these podcasts, and we do these twice a week for everybody, because that's what we want. We want to make a change. And until we actually agree on a few fundamental things, like, we're so busy fighting each other that we're not gaining any ground. Like, we're just digging our heels in and going to war. There is no ground to be gained for anybody. You know, it reminds me of, like, the World War I, which is, by the way, one of my favorite wars to study. I mean, because it was pretty much the worst thing ever, where, like, over the course of 5 years, they just in trenches and just moved 100 yards, moved back a mile, moved a mile and a half forward, back 100 yards, up 200 yards, just murdering each other, like, and never going more than 5 miles. Like, that's insanity. And that's what we're currently doing. That's all we're currently doing is just that. But nobody's winning, because there is no, the point to all of this is there is no win in what we're currently doing. There's no way that we can move forward in anything that resembles some kind of normalcy or some kind of, like, okay, where we can all live together at the end in the direction in which we're traveling. It's just not going to work. So like I said, I challenge everybody to take this one small step. Don't believe me, that's fine. But take this small step for you, and I think it will change your perspective and change how you view everything. It'll really open up everybody's eyes, and that's super important. It's super important for me. It's super important for this show, and I really think it's super important for this country and us as people. You know, like and how we get along and how we work together. You know what I mean?
I think we're good. I think we're good on this one. That's enough to digest for anybody who watches this one.
I agree, but I did want to give an update. So I did not forget about the last podcast, and I am going to be, I'm actually going to be starting a nonprofit. I've been working on that for the last for the last week.
Yeah, super proud of you, bro. That's such a good idea.
And I also want to say, like, I'm still on the hunt for a name, which, you know, I hope anybody listening to this, please take a minute and toss out some names. And then on top of that, even in the process, because I'm not just looking to like start a nonprofit as quick as possible. I mean, just whatever. But I would also say that anybody who listens to this, if you know somebody who needs stuff done, who is less fortunate, who doesn't have the resources, or even has an idea of where I can go to get the word out that I'm willing to do this. And what I'm willing to do is if somebody has like a broken sink and they just don't have the money to repair it, if they have a broken door or a bad step or, you know, whatever, I'm not trying, or a leak in their roof or whatever. I'm not trying to go in and replace somebody's floors for them, you know, obviously, but I'm trying to like fix something that really needs to be fixed, and they just can't afford it. They can't do that. And I just want something to give back to somebody else. And my own little version of paying it forward to help, just to help, you know, like I think that if all of us take a little bit of time to just help, I think that things can just get better, and it'll just be better for everybody else. And yeah, that's kind of what I want. So I just wanted to give a little update and let everybody know that, yes, and be on the lookout for it. And if you guys can help me at all, that would be great. Yeah, because I think that everything is always better when we're doing it together.
Yeah, keep building it. Keep building the idea. And yeah, I think it's a great idea. Send in as much stuff as you can to help him get a cool name. Right. There's no bad ideas. Throw in some ideas for it. If you know people who do need help, especially in like the Detroit area,
right,
that makes it a little bit easier for your commute.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I would like it somewhere in the Metro Detroit area would be just really kind of my wheelhouse.
My friend in Florida really needs their sink fixed, Sean.
Right. That's not really going to work out for him. But yeah, you know what I mean? So just really, whatever you guys can do. This is a really short one. Well, we actually did it in the time that my sister was saying that we need to keep our videos down to. But so this one's for you. This one's for you, Jenny. Like, we got this one in 48 minutes. So kudos. On the next one, we'll be back to our normal argumentative selves about current issues and things like that. But I think that we'll be touching on this one periodically just to try to get the word out.
Episode 15 is going to be one where we have to keep getting people to go back to go like, why are you saying the things you're saying?
Right.
What filter are you using? Why is he always fucking talking about filters? What's he trying to do? Like, Go back to episode 15. You'll see why we keep mentioning that to each other.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, everybody. Well, thank you again for joining us on the Mixed Nomad podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, and, leave a comment. And we will talk to you all again real soon.
Yeah, and if you can, go and check it out on Amazon. You can check out my book, Everything is a Choice. If you're like, what the heck is this guy talking about? Look it up and then get your opinions from like, what are we talking about on this thing? Because I keep bringing up programs and all these kind of things. We do actually help people out with this stuff. So there are different perspectives that do try and keep people sane on working on their own things, and there are ways to do it. So check it out, reach out on that one too. And help us both out, help you out. That's really what the whole point is.
Right. There we go. All right, everybody. See you later.
See ya.